Hello, I received one of these RunCam 3S HD cameras to take a look at recently. Well, the reason I'm late to the party on this again is because, as usual, RunCam sent this to me without letting me know that it was coming, and they sent it to my old address because I just moved house recently. So I should have received this something like about 6 weeks ago or so. And the people that live at the old house did actually say that they had something that had arrived there, so I gave them my new address and they were supposed to forward it to me, but they never did. And the reason was apparently, the kids opened the package so they couldn't forward it to me, at least not without paying for postage themselves, I think is what they were actually saying. So, bloody useless. Anyway, so I went for a drive down to Tokoroa the other day, and I go past my old house on the way. So I dropped in and picked up all this stuff, and when I say all this stuff, I got this, and I got a couple of other things from RunCam, which I'll be taking a look at in the next week or so. Hopefully we've got some good weather coming up. But anyway, this is obviously the successor to the RunCam 3, which is a great little camera. It's a pity that they stopped making those, but they have obviously changed a few of the characteristics of it enough that they're not going to get sued by GoPro, which is apparently something to do with the problem of why they stopped making that one. And I will be primarily comparing it in this video to the GoPro session, but since I have a RunCam 3, the original, I will sort of do a little bit of a comparison to that as well. So I'm guessing at this point most people watching this video are probably already familiar with what this camera is all about, so I'll just go over some of the outward changes quickly just in case you somehow missed it. But they've changed the size and shape a little bit. It's just slightly larger. Oh, in that dimension it's a fair bit larger, isn't it? But the other dimensions it's not quite such a difference, but it seems to be larger, well, about the same that way, and then slightly larger that way. It's a little bit larger all around, and the edges have been squared off, so unfortunately it will not fit in any of those GoPro session style like waterproof cases or anything like that. You'll have to use something else, which is okay for me because I just put a Velcro strap around it like that. Should be fine if you do that kind of mounting. Where should we start? The front screen here, or the front panel, is metal, so it's quite a bit more robust than that one, which I think is plastic, isn't it? Oh no, that's metal too, but this one is replaceable apparently, so you can see the little screws there, which is quite nice, and they sell replacement pieces for it. One thing I don't like too much is that the lens has been changed a bit, so that now the default wide angle setting of this is really fish-eyed, and I don't like that too much. So what I'll be doing tomorrow is trying the narrow field of view. I was just trying the default wide angle field of view today, and I didn't like it too much. I much prefer whatever this lens does to the picture, because even on the wide angle setting, this one is not quite so fish-eyed. And if you look at the edges of the frame, as we'll see later, that this one does, it's really squashed up. On the top here, the button has been made a square button, and instead of showing the battery remaining, just turn these both on. The original RunCam, it's telling me that there's no SD card in the slot, but the way that this lets you know that the battery is getting low is it flashes this green, this LED, which only tells you that when it gets very close to being dead. Whereas this one, you get a bit more of a warning because it goes from 3 to 2 to 1, and then when it gets really low, again, the 1 remaining starts flashing. So that seems a little bit more informative than the old style. Let me just turn that off, turn this off. But again, same style for starting and stopping recording. And we have on the front now a little LED. So I really like this. I'd like to think that it was my suggestion that contributed to this being done, because one of the things that I complained about on this camera is that the only way you can see whether the camera is recording is by this, which starts to flash. And in my case, I had my Velcro strap around there to strap it onto my mini quad, so if I wanted to check whether it was recording or not, I had to sort of like pull my Velcro up like that and sort of peek under. It was kind of a nuisance, whereas on the GoPro they had a really nice feature. Let me just stop that recording. They had a really nice feature in that this corner here there's an LED, and on the exact opposite corner there's an LED, which both flash when it's recording. So whatever direction you're looking at it from, one of these LEDs will be visible to let you know whether it's actually recording. So this is pretty good. It's not quite on the corner, and there's none on the opposite direction corner, but this for me will be a great improvement. I think I really like that. Now on the back, let's look over this side now. They've changed the SD card slot, so before you had to put it under this thing, which was a bit of a nuisance, but if you don't do it very often then it's fine. And the USB connection was on the side, which is good for me because I have a strap around there like that, so I can just plug in my USB from the side to download the video off my quad when I'm done flying. Just turn that off. They've changed the USB plug here to on the back, so that's not so great for me. Might be okay if you are one of those people who strap the camera on with the Velcro strap or something around like that. And what was I just going to show you here? The battery. Oh yeah, this is one of the great things about this camera. I really like the fact that now the battery is replaceable, so you can just pull this out. I turned that off, didn't I? Yep. You can just pull this right out and swap it, and so you can quite easily take a few of these out for your day's flying, and you'll never have to worry about running out of battery, which is one of the big problems with this one, to be honest. I've quite often found that I run out of battery on this for a reason which I'll show you actually that they haven't fixed in this one, but yeah, you're not going to have to worry about that so much this time. And the SD card goes in the side there, so it's not going to be popping out in a crash. But that battery there is compatible with the RunCam 2, so even if you don't have too many of these batteries spare, what you can do, if you have some sort of a way of plugging in USB power to this, is you can just take this, well, presuming you own one of these of course, and you can just take this and use it as a charger, because you put your other battery into there, since they're compatible, and put the back on it of course, and then plug that in and charge it while you're flying, and then maybe you could get away with only having 2 batteries. That would be pretty cool. Now to compare the weight of these, even though this new camera is larger, and at least it looks quite a lot larger than these, look how, I don't know why it looks so much larger, it's only a few millimeters each way, but the weight nonetheless, so we've got 73 for the GoPro and the original RunCam 67, the new one is 70, so it's sort of right in between these two, so even though it looks pretty chunky, it's not really too bad weight wise. So as far as outward changes, that's about it. The wireless or Wi-Fi enabling button is on the back as it was before. Slightly different position, it's on the top instead of the bottom now, but we have also an LED the same as we did before to let you know that the Wi-Fi is on and waiting. So as far as inward features, or the features of the firmware itself, one thing that I really hope they would change but they have not is the fact that when you disconnect from USB, the session will turn off, which is really nice, but this one does not, and I've been caught out by this many times with the original. And the problem is that you'll turn it on, because you have to turn it on to get your photos off it or your videos off it. So you turn it on like that, and it's on, and you download all your videos to your computer, and then you leave it on for a little bit longer to let it charge up again, and then you go like this, and it just stays on. It doesn't turn off after 30 seconds. So normally what happens if you just turn it on normally, like if I turn it on without having the USB in, and I leave it like this for I don't know if it's 30 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes or whatever, 3 minutes maybe, but it will turn off after a certain time. But it will not do that if you had it powered from USB and you unplug it. So many's the time, probably about 5 or 6 times now, that I had just not realized that, and I went out to go flying and the battery was flat by the time I got there. So yeah, that would be, I'm sure they could do that in a firmware update actually. It's not a hardware thing, so maybe we'll see that in the future. That would be a nice change. Okay, it looks like it's 5 minutes that it will turn off, as long as you don't use any USB. Yes, I did just sit here for 5 minutes waiting for that. So most of the rest of this video is going to be some comparison footage between these cameras. Today I just strapped them together like that and walked around the backyard a bit, and tomorrow hopefully I'll be able to put this on mini quad and fly it around, because I'm curious to see how the wind noise is at speed. There was a little bit of wind today, but the wind that you get from just standing around in the wind is a bit different to the wind sound at high speed like when you're on a plane or a mini quad, so that's kind of what I'm interested in mainly. Now I did have some problems today, mainly from the GoPro. I don't know what's happened to this, but I think it might have got a little bit of water into it when I was doing that boat video a while ago, and it's never been the same since. Only about once every 20 times you try to start it, it will actually work, so I'm probably going to throw this away sooner or later. It's just being more annoying than it's worth having, especially now that I've got a couple of these. But I think part of the problem is the SD card. So the GoPro doesn't want to do anything at all with this card here, which is a UHS 1. So that's the U1 there, I think that's what that means. If I got that right, hope I did. There's a 1 below that too. And I've been using this with the original RunCam 3 for a long time and doesn't have any trouble at all with it. And because of that, and also because according to the website for the 3S, it says this should be alright. So it's class 10 or UHS 1 there. So this is for RunCam 3S, by the way, there. So because of that, that's what I was using today. However, as I'll show you in a little bit more detail later on, I had a problem where it broke the file prematurely, and it did start trying to write another file, but it sort of failed and the new file never worked out. So I don't think it was an intentional file break. For example, with this one here, every 12 minutes or so it will intentionally break the file and start writing a new one just because the file size gets very large, like 2.4 gig or something, I think. But I don't think it was that. I think it was some sort of a malfunction that it wasn't supposed to be doing. So in the future I'll be using this UHS 3 disc. Unfortunately they cost a bit more, but this is the only one that I've been able to get to do anything at all in my GoPro. So I'll be using this in the RunCam 3S tomorrow when I try my onboard test. Alright, here we are. I'm doing a triple camera comparison. Unfortunately the GoPro, I think, is on its last legs. It just will not start. Seems to be something to do with the connection between the SD card and the little prongs inside the SD card slot where it goes. But anyway, it's pissed me off so much. It took me about an hour to get it started to this point where I could just do this comparison. So unfortunately I don't think the GoPro is going to make it through the end of this video, but we shall see. So anyway, I'm just doing a little bit of talking now to compare. A little bit of wind there. Anyway, that's the sun. It's about to go down now. I was hoping to do this, like I say, about an hour ago when it was a bit more sunny. Oh, what's that? Wow. What is that? Huh. There's a big plane, sort of in the style of a DC3 or something, but the wing shape doesn't look quite right for a DC3. What is that, I wonder? Anyway, it's quite interesting. Here's some flowers. They look quite nice in the sun about an hour ago, but not so much anymore. Some more flowers. Just sort of getting a little bit of a range of colour rather than just green everywhere. There's a cobweb here which also looked quite nice about an hour ago, but not anymore. Can you tell this GoPro pissed me off? Right, let's go over here. So yeah, one thing I noticed, well, I've noticed a long time ago, but the GoPro doesn't deal with this sort of overcast situation very well. Well, it's not overcast, but the sun is obscured by quite a bit of cloud over there. Yeah, and the GoPro doesn't do very well when you look at it and then look back at somewhere that's a bit darker. But both of these two RunCam 3s do a very good job of that, so I'm expecting that the result from the two RunCams will be much nicer. Let's try not to fall over. It compresses, but it doesn't compress into such a small file. So when you're writing a variable bitrate video, something like this will make the video a larger file. At least that's what I think happens. Here's the farmer. You can see him. Oh, he's gone past. All right. So let's climb over here. Go down here. And this is the I-Force 2D airport. Look at that, they completely cleaned out all the fertilizer. Picked it clean. So, just look at the sun in a way a bit again, I guess. Because this is the worst kind of situation, but although it may seem a bit unnatural to be doing this as I hold it in my hand, this is something that you do a lot with your mini quad when you're doing flips and stuff. You do a flip, you look up at the sky, and then you're looking at the ground, and it goes all black. I noticed this in Joshua Bardwell's videos I was watching just before. He must be using a GoPro, I think. Anyway. So they'll probably do for a semi-overcast comparison. Not sure if I can be bothered trying to get this GoPro to work again to do a sunny one, but if it's sunny tomorrow I will also do a sunny one as well. Unfortunately, while I was doing that test, it looks like the 3S's kind of crashed or something, because it wasn't recording when I tried to turn it off. The red light is not going, and I can't turn it off either. The user manual says you can hold down the Wi-Fi button and the power button together to force the shutdown. Oh, that worked. Okay, this is what I found on the SD card when I checked it. File 0 is one that I recorded earlier this afternoon. Everything was working okay. File 1, this little small file, is the one that I started to record, and then, see, it was nice and sunny then, but I realized that the GoPro was not going to start for me. Now file 2 is the one that I just recorded. That seems to have worked okay, except it has at this point cut the file after about 6 minutes, and it's tried to start a new file, but it was not able to start a new file. And this second file that it tried to start is just an invalid video. So kind of looks like it might be a problem with the SD card not being able to handle the speed, perhaps. Well, that was okay for 6 minutes, so I don't know why it would suddenly fail. It's the 6-minute mark. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for the comparisons for this video. I've been using it for about a week or so now, and I have not had any trouble after I started using the faster SD card, so perhaps that was the cause of the issue that I had before with the file not being written correctly. By the way, the buzzing in that video that we just saw there I think might have been caused by some of these rather bad delaminations that are, I just sort of noticed these seem to be getting worse. I slammed into a steel gate once or maybe twice at my old place, and that's how that happened. But I taped everything down to make sure I didn't get anything sort of vibrating, so that's all I can think it would be. But it wasn't the camera's fault. I do know that this quad does sort of have a bit of a buzzy noise no matter what camera you're using, so I'm not sure exactly where it's coming from. But anyway, yeah, so as far as overall comparisons to the other two cameras, it's a slight step backwards in terms of the optics here. You're getting a little bit more lens flare, and as I said, I don't like the wide angle, the way that you get a huge fisheye effect from the wide angle setting. It's the first time I've actually felt compelled to change the field of view setting from wide to narrow. So that's what I've done for this, and it's working out quite well like that. It's a big step up in terms of this, being able to pop that battery out and put a new one in. So probably that's the single most, for me, the single best improvement that I've found with this camera. And as you can see, I strap it on front to back like this with this nifty carbon fibre plate that I had made. So that means that I can't get at the USB plug to get my videos off or to charge it unless I take it off the quad, and it's actually more of a nuisance to take it off the quad than it is to just take the battery out and charge it in my RunCam 2, and to also take the SD card out and use an SD card reader to get the videos onto my computer. So that's what I've been doing. Not too much of a hassle. It's actually quite nice to be able to have a battery charging at home, and then when you get home, well, for me, I'm flying at home, so at home means just to walk over there, walk back from there. But I can get home and just pop a new battery in because it's been charging while I was flying, which is really nice. I like that. So that's a huge plus, and it outweighs probably the small negatives of that. Overall, you may have noticed in the video comparison that this camera, they seem to have increased the wide dynamic range effect, and they've also increased the contrast and saturation. Overall, I don't think they needed to do that, so yeah, that was unnecessary, but it's not a huge difference, and the amount that they've done it is not so much that I think it's, I don't think they've gone too far with it yet. But it would be nice if there was an option to just sort of reduce that a little bit to the level that the original RunCam 3 was doing it, because that was a pretty good sort of all-round setting, I think. Anyway, I've talked about this for far too long already, so I think we are at the end of this video. Thanks for watching.